Thank you again for tuning in. We'll meet again on the next podcast. Down the Barrel starts now.
Good afternoon. I definitely played the wrong intro there. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. This is Swally Swede with the CUSF. With us again, as usual, we have Dave, the president.
Howdy.
And we have Reg Wales from Vortex Canada.
Hey, everyone.
So just starting off, Dave, if you want to do sponsorship and any new business.
Yeah, so big shout out to Cabela's as always. Great to have them on board, sponsoring us through the Outdoors Fund. So yeah, if you're at Cabela's, make sure to round up and support other nonprofit organizations like ourselves. And then we got Beretta. Big shout out to Beretta, being great for sponsoring us on the shotgun side of things. Vortex, that's why we're here today with Reg. Big shout out to Vortex Canada for both their sponsorship as well as getting us a great guest for our podcast today. And Stittsville Shooting Ranges, helping out Carleton University Firearms Association, Carleton Shotgun Team, as well as sponsoring the CUSF nationally. So really doing their part to help drive forward student sports shooting. Yeah, getting into the new business, not a heck of a lot going on in terms of club activities. So with COVID and all, we had the Nova Scotia guys out cleaning up a range in partnership with our conservation program a couple weeks ago there. So great to see those guys out giving back to the community and again cleaning up an old abandoned range, right? Doing the right thing to make sure shooting isn't having a negative impact on the environment.
It's good optics for the non-shooting community as well to see that kind of thing happening.
No, and it's the right thing to do, right? Shooters were there shooting on the range. They closed it down, and I guess they closed it down and they left it in a mess, right? So I mean, great to see them getting out with another nonprofit group and cleaning it up and getting it back more the way the land was before. But yeah, beyond that, at the end of, or I guess very start of May 1st, we have the first annual National Student Sports Shooting Conference. So yeah, pretty exciting. We're going to have 8 seminars slots, so 8 one-hour slots for various speakers on a bunch of different topics. We're going to have our annual general meeting, as well as a exciting keynote that we'll stay tuned to hear that. So it'll be about a 4 or 5 hour digital event, and just excited to kind of bring our community together and discuss sport shooting, students, and the CUSF.
Nice. May 1st. And we're going to be streaming that, right?
Yeah, it's all going to be done off of our AGM platform that we're getting set up by a couple guys in-house here. So details to be released soon.
Awesome. All right. So with us today, we got Reg Welsh, right?
Wales.
Reg Wales,
yeah.
Sorry. Reg
Close
Wales,
enough.
you're with, I know, you're with Vortex Canada. Thank you again for sponsoring us. We may be joined by a partner of yours. We'll see if he tunes in as well, but otherwise it'll be just the 3 of us. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into shooting, and then how you ended up joining Vortex?
Yeah, it started when I was just a kid. I grew up on a farm, like in a rural community. It's funny, I still live in a rural community, but I grew up on a farm with lots of land and lots of animals, lots of critters. So there was always something that needed to be tended to. So whether it was coyotes, groundhogs, so I started out shooting just with 22s, like most of us do, just learning as a kid. There was really when I started shooting as a kid, even out on the farm, there was no mentorship or anything that we have here today. It was basically, here you go, here's a rifle, and you kind of learn as you go. And then I started getting into scopes and optics I probably when I was just 13, 14. I got my hunter education program under my belt at that time and started farting around with some scopes. And the one thing that got me early on was trying to figure out why does it take me like a box or 2 boxes of ammunition to zero my rifle in? So there's got to be a better way. So I ended up figuring out exactly what minute of angle is, how it works, how to make those shot corrections for my shooting position, only using the scope, and all the other stuff that goes along with that. So as I kind of built my experience up on the farm, I started getting into long range precision shooting. I was just a kid again, 15, 16, 17, shooting coyotes. We had a couple of farmers fields that were, 500-600 meters out. So those were back in those days. 600 meters was a really good poke for the equipment we were running. I didn't have any laser rangefinders back in the day, so it was trial and error. So getting to learn those growing pains and learning how to work your rifle system at those ranges on animals was a good testimony to a good learning curve. And when I was 17, there's only one thing I ever wanted to do was join the military. I just want to be a ground pounder. So when I turned 17, I kind of lied to my parents and said, I'll just join the reserves for the summer. Go do 2 months in Petawawa and I'll call it good. But when I got there, I decided, I wasn't going back. So I went to the Regs, and from there I participated in different events and shooting events, such as back then CIFSAC, Canadian Forces Small Arms Competition. Participated in that, and I've always kept my shooting skills up. I was wounded overseas back in '94 in the former Yugoslavia, so my military career was cut short pretty quick. Got lots to do, lots of cool things running in the service, and I was being fast-tracked as an NCO, but yeah, it left a really bad taste in my mouth. I spent a lot of years in the hospital trying to get my health back, and during those times, once I was able to get up, get walking around, I was back on the gun again. So my whole life has been revolving around firearms, whether it's teaching firearms as a civilian, hunter education, our PAL courses, the OTOP program that we developed now, all sorts of different things. So I'm just a student of the game, continuously learning, and that's where I fell into Vortex. I got introduced to the owner of Vortex, Paul Grant, I think 8 years ago now. So they took me on, and I didn't think I had anything big to offer that was any different than anyone else, and kind of figured out later on that, I thought everyone at first knew what I knew, and then it turns out they don't. So it was.
You've written a book on this as well, right?
Yeah. Like I've taught a lot of different kind of informal teachings. So, hey, Reg, man, you got to put this to pen to paper, man. It's like we need something that we can actually pick up and physically read. So I wrote a book about 5 or 6 years ago. It's called The Ultimate Optics Guide to Rifle Shooting. Now, that was my first attempt to pen to paper to put anything down. I don't fancy myself as a writer. In high school, I didn't really read much, but here I am writing books. So, it was my first attempt. We're now in our second book. It's more like it's a training manual. We've had lots of feedback. I've got lots of requests from law enforcement agencies here and services here in Canada, mostly in the States. So I took my knowledge that I had been gaining for the last 30-some years of shooting, and I started to hone it into a program that I started about 10 years ago, informal, teaching to law enforcement services, Corrections Canada guys, and it just kind of blossomed. And then it was like, hey, you got to put this again in a format that we can adopt and be a certificate course and whatnot. So my wife and I, we will have it out this summer, but it will formally be in the format of an actual training manual. And it'll go out. It'll be the standardized training manual. It's a firearms optics training manual, so there's a lot of firearms information in there. But the goal is to teach the shooter what the optic can really do for you in the field. And if you're paying attention and learn to speak its language, you got to learn to speak scope. But once you learn how to manipulate the optic, but when you're laying behind the gun, behind the rifle, and you're looking through the optic, once you understand truly what the optic's trying to tell you, it's a whole different game. It's like watching The Matrix, the old movie, The Matrix. It's like you're looking at things in a whole
movie. Come on now.
Yeah, I'm dating myself now, guys. So,
Yeah, fuck me too.
Yeah, I
Talked
know
about
you're
service. I was in the military back then. Like I remember everybody got like our rain trench coats looked a lot like the Matrix stuff. So a lot of people used to wear them home on the weekends.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, when I got involved with Vortex, it's just been ongoing. We've got some really great stuff coming up. I can't go into detail on it with this podcast, but within the next 4 to 5 weeks, Vortex Canada is making a major transition, and there's some great things happening. Not just product lines, but great things for training and all sorts of great things coming out. It's not my place to spill the beans. I'll wait to our owner gives me the thumbs up to do that. But there's some amazing things coming down the pipe. Yeah,
so just looping back to like your training manual there, I'm kind of interested in the whole the language of scope concept, I guess. Like kind of what goes into like I guess learning the language, and then what are these courses and manuals designed to like impart on the reader?
Well, if you think about I was just mentioning the first book that I put down to pen to paper, that'll get you going, to get you started, and get you off in the right direction. And for the most part, for the average person, they're quite happy with that. That's sufficient for them. And then others, they want to blossom. They want to actually get the most out of their weapon system as they can in themselves. So the train of thought when I came up with the program, again, we're in our 10th year now for this program, that now that we're releasing it to the general public, to civilians, and we're moving it in a more formal direction for LE, is that I want to have a book or a training manual. Again, being an old school type of guy, is that if I can see it, I can hit it. So I put basically a distance on it, thinking that whoever's going to read this manual, even if they do it at home or it's in-house training for LE, whoever picks this training manual up and works through it, if you've got a target image at 1,000 meters and you don't have anything in your arsenal, such as electronic devices, such as rangefinders, wind meters, you name it, ballistic apps. We're talking one guy with a rifle and ammunition. I'm going to give you the skills, the knowledge to read between the lines, that if you don't hit it on the first shot, definitely the second shot's going to be right on the money. So we give you those tools, and that's the idea behind the premise behind the book. So when you learn the skills, and I keep the envelope at 1,000 meters. That's when I train with the guys. I say, look, we're not going to go beyond 1,000 meters. You can take it as far as you want, but I want to have it so that you're able to hit a very small target at 1,000 meters with the skills that we present with you with this book. So the training manual, if you think about our old military PAMs and the way we were taught back in the day, is kind of archaic. So the new way of teaching, we got PowerPoint and all that kind of good stuff, but what we're doing now is allowing the shooter to get hands-on and get away from the more, I don't want a rigid program. I want it to be very fluent. So when you're on the range, you get the book 30 days prior. If you were to take a course through us, you take it 30 days, the book 30 days prior, you go through it, you take your time going through it. If you're a shooter, you can work through the book, because at the end of each lesson plan, there are range exercises. There's in-house range exercise that you'll do at your desk. But when you get
it's very practical then. Like it's something that you can pick up your book and you read the chapter, and then you go out and actually apply the principles that you learn about like every chapter, eh?
Yeah, brother, that's it. That's exactly where I was coming from. It's like I've read enough books over my day on optics, because I've always been in the optics game, is that I'm learning about Galileo and crap like that, right? I'm not interested in the stars and Galileo. It's like, how do I move point A to point B? Let me move my point of impact here, and I want to shift it around, and how do I do that? So this is exactly like what the little book that I wrote. I want to have it so every page that you guys open up, if Dave, you open up, just go through it and you open up at random, there's a lesson plan, or there's partial of a lesson plan that you've come across. You can follow through it. You can pick up your rifle, out to the range, off you go, and you can actually put that to use. You can put that application to use. So that's exactly the way it is. And you're right on, man. It's a down to earth. It's a complicated program. It's definitely not for someone that just got their PAL license. We need to have someone coming into the program that's able to shoot a group, very small group. So you need to have that marksmanship skills already. You already have to have those skills present. What we do is we take you to the next level, and we take you to a level that, we think about firearms instruction. Like, we have so many great firearms instructors here in Canada, especially even in the States. You can't throw a dime or a quarter without hitting somebody that can teach you something. But all the courses I've been on in my life, even the professional ones down in the States, I always felt there was something missing. And the one thing that, as I watched the instructor as a student looking in, is that they never touched on optics. And optics is the heart of the soul of it, because it's the steering wheel that drives everything. So what I found as a student watching these guys teach, I was learning tons on the firearm side of things, but I was learning shit at optics, and I already knew what I was needed to do my job on the course. But buddy to the left and right of me was struggling, and I was helping them along. And I just felt, man, we need to bring our firearms instructors into the loop and make them a little bit more knowledgeable in this area. And when they can hone their skills, and their course that they applied are giving out to our students, or just their skill set as an instructor, would be increased tenfold. And we know, as taking courses, all three of us in the past, that once you take a course with an instructor, and if you catch your instructor either in a lie or an area that they're teaching that they're really not up to speed on, and you can kind of see through the holes in the course, you kind of lose faith in your instructor. Does this guy really know what he's talking about? So I've been there many times, and there's times that I walked away from courses and you pay thousands of dollars to go away on it, and I'm like, I didn't learn any more than when I got up this morning. This was a review for me, and this guy stuttered all the way through. And then I look at my classmates, they're confused. And that was the same thing for LE. I've been on courses where the instructor was fantastic, but there were some shortcomings there. And that was the push. It's like, guys are pushing me, hey, Reg, help me with this, help me with that. And it's just like, I'm one guy. I know what I'm talking about here, but I'm going to pass the information off to someone else. And you guys are all capable people. You know what you're doing on the range. Here's a format. Here it is. Go learn it. And that's exactly where it is, man. It's just like the OTOP program, Operational Tactical Optics program, is now, there's a lot of interest in it. And it's the very first time that anything like this has ever been attempted. And I feel for the first time, for us coming into the gate for the first time, we've got a home run here. It's going to be something I think every shooter, not just the tactical people that's going to use it in their day-to-day lives for their work, but we're talking just for recreation, whether it's your university students that are getting hooked up, getting involved, anything that's got a weapon sight on it, a firearm sight, whether it's irons, it's optics, it's red dots, it's prismatics. And then,
I mean, that's any hunter. That's a huge part of the firearms community. And I mean, I think them more than, I mean, soldiers aside, or maybe law enforcement, I think hunting is where you really, really need to be on the money. Because I mean, if you're off target a little bit on paper, you adjust. If you're off target on an animal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And for us, I can speak for Vortex Canada, that, our bread and butter that pays our bills and makes us the brand that we are today is the average guy that hunts, or the family member that's going to target shoot with their kids. We have a great following on the law enforcement side, the tactical side, and the PRS side, but that isn't the average guy. The average guy out there that's going to buy a hunting rifle and go out and hunt to feel the freezer, or go out and target shoot a little bit on the weekends, that's the main guys and girls that are out there that are doing that. So this will help them as well. We're very busy when it comes to talking on the phone about different optics and whatnot, and that kind of thing. But when we get talking to certain customers and we get involved with marksmanship, and we get talking about optics and marksmanship and how it applies to different applications for PRS or whatever you're into, then the conversation kind of goes askew, kind of take a left turn, or the wheels come off the bus and we start talking about something completely different. So be able to hone it all together and bring it together as a package, and have someone be able to take it and improve their skills. That's where it's at. And that's the whole thing. I just want to be able to do it.
Where can a person buy your book, your current one, your next one, and these courses?
Yeah, so it's interesting. The way we're going to go about it is this: we're just waiting now on the last little bit for copyright from the civilian side. The LE side's done. So the way we're going to play this out is on the civilian side, because this is who we're talking to here on most of your marketplace. So your people on the civilian side will be able to purchase this either at the same place they purchased the same book that I got out now. It's worldwide, so it'll go Friesen Press. Out in Vancouver, so they're my publisher. So they can get it through there. They can get it at 35,000 different outlets, online, ebooks. If they want to buy it through Vortex Canada or Vortex USA, or any of our Vortex worldwide, they can do it there. The cheapest place is just to buy it through Vortex because we keep our prices pretty low. And the idea is, I'm not trying to become, I'm not trying to get rich off this. I'm just trying to get
wouldn't hurt. If you got what there's a saying about like if you're good at something, you never do it for free.
Yeah, that's right. But at the same time, my wife and I are very blessed. I've had some hardship in the past, but we live a pretty good life here, and we're very blessed. And there's more to life than money. And if you can give back, I love this sport. This is, like I said, I've been in this since I was a kid. I'm touching 50 now, so I'm getting there. And I remember it was the first time I went out hunting with someone, like with my relatives. Your heart's pounding just like it is today when you get out there and a deer comes out to you, or a turkey, whatever you're going to knock over. But it's that feeling. And when I'm out teaching, whether doing a PAL course with some kids or whatever, or if I'm at a range doing a seminar, it's all good. I just see new people coming into the shooting sports. And that's what I want to see. Not going in on the political side, but just because of our political atmosphere that we have right now in Canada, it's great to see more and more people jumping on board and getting their license. So if I can facilitate that and I can have one more boot on the ground that's going to be opposition to this, because I want to keep this heritage going. So
it's mainstream. It should remain mainstream. Like it is. Yeah. It's a hot topic in this part of the world. I'm Swedish. I've lived in a couple of European countries. A lot of countries have a really rich hunting background, and firearms really aren't a big deal in a lot of places. But it's a very, very, very partisan issue in North America, and it really shouldn't be. So now I think is very much the time to make it mainstream and make sure it stays mainstream.
Well, it's just all about showing people, hey, I'm like, this is what shooting's really about. Like getting them that trigger time. Like as soon as someone pulls a trigger, you know how it is. They're hooked. So, and it really shows them the difference. Like, hey, these aren't the bad people on the streets of Toronto, fucking wherever, right? These are they're sports shooters. These are hunters. These are like there is an acceptable use for firearms in society, right?
Yeah, and that's a great point, Dave.
I saw a breakdown on a graphic not too long ago. There's just shy of 2.2 million of us, and I think it was something like 1.3, 1.4 million hunters. Like that's a big part of the country.
Yeah, considering what is there, 35, 38, I don't know, million of us now walking around. So yeah, that is a good chunk. And the thing is, if we can just come all together, we're making an effort. We are making an effort at it. We've got some good representation out there with the CCFR and CCSA, and the list goes on and on. There's many different groups out there. So, even if you're just starting and you're listening to this podcast, like get out there and just spend a couple bucks and support these groups, because those are the ones, and those men and women are going to bat for us right now. So, I'm sitting here talking to you guys, but those are the guys and girls that are, they're making it, allowing us to be able to continue to fight and put up a good fight. So, the liberals, right? That's all I can say.
So we emailed back and forth a little bit a week or two ago, and you and I talked a little bit about practical shooting and range to real life shooting. Anything you want to explore there?
Yeah. Again, we think about the time on the range, whether you're a hunter or whatever, you're a target shooter. But when you move away from the range and you're out in your environment, such as a hunter, you're out in your area. Every time you're on the range, everything that you're learning on the range is applicable as a hunter. In my world, I would like to have every hunter become a target shooter. Just that, if you're able to engage a target, say even a minimal range at 300 meters, and you're able to tuck them right in there where you need it to be, when that shot presents yourself with a live animal, then you have the confidence and you have the ability, but you also have the knowledge that you're going to be able to tuck that in there and put it in the vitals. Too many animals, as we know, get wounded every year. We can definitely help that by educating. We just need the hunters to participate. If you ask someone that's a hunter, let's go out and do some target shooting, they usually will say, hey, the old school guys are like, I ain't gonna go out there. I got to clean my rifle. It's like I got to spend money. Let's have a beer instead. But the more time on the range, and what I get excited is the younger crowd that's getting involved with shooting sports. They're the ones that are out there spending the cash. They're spending the cash. They're spending their time putting it in because they want to have the skills and they want to be able to if they go hunting, they actually want to do it ethically. So we're seeing a change. I think things are changing over. People are starting to put more of an effort, especially in the shooting sports and in their skill set. And if I can help that in some small way, I'm all over it for sure. And shows like what you guys are doing right here, these podcasts and getting the information out and giving tidbits of information for you guys, what you guys have learned over the time that you've been shooting, it's all extremely valuable. Anyone that I talk to...
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, anyone that I talk to, even that's been in this game for a long time, if they're pretending they're acting like they know it all, they're completely full of shit, because this is just like anything else. You're constantly learning each and every time.
Yeah. No, it's lifelong learning, absolutely.
That's the fun of it. There's so many different flavors. Like, I mean, I could go out tomorrow and try, I don't know, like, I'm not a long range shooter. I mean, I know there's tons out there that I could learn, and it'd be a whole new world to explore, right? So
yeah, the good thing is, guys, we're all on the same side. It's whether you're a long range shooter, I don't know, you're shooting PRS or you're shooting just rimfire or you're just planking for shits and giggles. We're all on the same team here, and we got to support each other.
No, and it's a great community, like, I mean, every time I go to the range, it's like friendly faces, and I mean, you guys know how it is. Like shooters are always willing to bring new people out and kind of just educate them and show them like what our sport's all about, right? And try to get them hooked in it as well, right?
Yeah, and the thing is too, like in your intro there, you were just saying like we help sponsors you guys there for your events with your organization, and you guys are just one of many in which we sponsor. But that's the thing, is we got to get out there. It's not just for us to get Vortex's name out there, but it's there to help you guys succeed, because again, when you guys succeed, it just means that we're going to succeed as well. We have a new shooter coming on board that's gone through you, so now they're going to come over and purchase an item from us, such as an optic, and they're going to be hopefully a Vortex optic owner for life. So again, it's twofold. Everything comes back, and you just need to put that time and effort in, and that's what we're doing right now, is to support many different facets within the industry. So we also do things such as ladies range days. We have kids days that we have. The list just goes on and on. We sponsor TV shows, as you guys probably already know, through Wild TV and the Sportsman Channel. And that's the great thing about the owner, Paul Grant, and his wife Val, is that they are so much in tune and understand the importance of supporting these events and these organizations, and I like to think that helps to our success.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're originally a university shooting club, right? That's how Dave started it out in Carleton University. And I mean, now some years later, we got our claws in the university coast to coast with shooting clubs popping up all over the place. I'm out in Vancouver here. We got a couple. We got BCIT and UBC, for example, and people are getting really into the shooting. Like there's so many gun clubs just in the Lower Mainland here. Unfortunately, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and it's a skill set, right? It's something that everybody has their own thing, their hobby, whatever they're into. But when you pick up a hobby such as shooting, and you get into a specific discipline, we'll just say precision shooting for shits and giggles here, that if you jump into precision shooting and you start learning about all the different facets to it, it's more than just having great gear and then finding a target at distance and putting the reticle on it and, slamming away at it. No, there's a lot more involved. We're talking about trigonometry. We're talking about environmental factors. We're talking learning about altitude and air density pressures and all this kind of stuff. So once you get into, it's like, I didn't like school at all. I just wanted to join the Army and, shoot and blow shit up and girls. That's it. But what my teacher would have said, hey, Reg, stop skipping math class, because if you paid attention, you're going to be able to hit little targets that are really far away. I would have skipped a fewer or less classes. So it's that people are catching on and say, hey, man, this is really cool. There's a lot to learn here. And they're very much a sponge. They're really soaking it up. And if you sat down with someone and said, hey, I want to teach you just quickly, let's go over barometric pressure and how it affects the bullet at distance, and they're switched on. Okay, and they want to know what's the difference on point of impact on my target, and I can make that correlation. So it's definitely a thinking game for some of these sports that we're involved with. So at the university level, having people that are very much into the learning kind of curve of everything, those people are like sponges. They absolutely, I can see someone at a university level jumping in here and just be like a fat kid on a Smartie, right? They're just on it and just super enjoying it. And then they just exceed. And those are the people that we see go on to different disciplines such as the Olympics, when we talk about biathlon shooting and whatnot. I taught a kid years ago, we're going back probably 15, 16 years ago, and he did a PAL course with me. And then a few years later, I ran into his mom, and she said, no, he's training for the biathlon for Canada for the Olympics. And a little piece of me, even though I'm not doing anything to help the kid at all, but a little piece of me just felt, wow, I just did something maybe that really helped him go in that direction. I'm sure he would have found another instructor to get taught up, but it made me feel good. And just having that feeling, it makes you come back all the time, right? You want to do it every time.
That brings me back to something we had Kelly from the CUSF women's program on. And we had the last episode we did was the women of the CUSF and Lady Guns.
Are we talking about Kelly from Maple Seed?
Yeah, Kelly from Maple Seeds, Kelly from Slamfire Radio, Kelly from
I did CCFR. Kelly's pal back in the day as well.
So a question came up on that episode about the biathletes specifically. Like, did the shooting come first or the skiing come first? So for this individual, I guess the shooting came first.
Shooting came first for him. Yeah,
well, there we go. So if the ladies.ca are listening, the shooting came first. Chicken or the egg?
Exactly. Chicken or the egg, brother.
Yeah.
So then your personal, I guess, history there, Reg, in terms of shooting, you're pretty accomplished in terms of the Argyle Cup and the marksmanship trophy. Why don't you go into that and kind of what it took to really get yourself to that high level to be winning these like impressive tournaments?
Yeah, what is
the Argyle Cup? We spoke about it. I have no idea what it is.
So the Argyle Cup it's a sniper competition for law enforcement and military officers, or serving current members. So it's a competition that's geared towards real world application. So it's set up for 10 stages. It's held at Milken Training Facility here in Ontario. So retired Captain Keith Cunningham and his wife Linda, they set it up. So retired snipers or active serving snipers can participate, in police service members. And what it is 10 stages, and it applies all of your skills that you would need to do your job as a sniper on the job, and you're going to do it throughout this competition. So everything from moving targets to map and orientation to range finding without any electronic devices, you name it, it's in there. And we have one section that's a rundown from the 600 to 300 with moving targets. Everything's happening very quickly. Every 100 meters, you leap forward, and there's another set of targets that come up, and it's pretty rapid. It's I thought moving in the military circles when we used to do this kind of thing was quick, but this is beyond that. This is a different level. So it takes a while to get your skill level up. For me, it's my physical health, that's always been holding me back. And I'm getting older, and old military injuries are coming back to haunt me, but that's just an excuse. You keep pushing forward. So this Argyle Cup is kind of like my mini Olympics for myself. And it's a paired competition. For the last 2 years, I've been paired up with Mike Brake. So Mike is very well known here in Canada. He's an ex-Toronto police sniper. He's got his own training company. He's actually one of our pro staff as well. And so him and I, we go through it together. I'm the sniper. He's my spotter. And we do the 10 stages. And the last 4 years that I've competed, I've won the sniper marksmanship trophy. And I tell the boys after I'm done, I don't think that I'm a better shooter than anyone else. I don't think that at all. I think what separates me from the guys that I'm able to walk away with the prize is just simply because I know how to work the rifle in a different manner. The old days of teaching when we were in the service are long gone. Those old ways of teaching just don't really cut it today. You've got to stay current. So the skills that I've come up with, that I train with myself and with Mike, when we get on the range and we do the Argyle Cup, the numbers at the very end, it really show that what we're doing is working. Because again, we're playing against the professionals, and when it comes to the point scheme, we're blowing them out of the water on the points, and it's just simply because we know how to work our gear.
Could you give an example of the old school training versus more what you guys are doing now?
Yeah, so even in my book, like, guys used to laugh at me when I was doing this, but I found there had to be something to it, and that's even belly breathing, right? Like, we've heard of that before through Lamaze classes if you've had a wife that had a baby, excuse me, or if you're into yoga. I was when I was wounded overseas, and I was doing some rehabilitation and whatnot in and out of hospital, they had me doing relaxing belly breathing techniques and all this, and meditation. And I found, like, wow, I'm really able to get into my zone very quickly and have my focus, and then I'm able to come back out on my own and be able to focus around me for situational awareness. And I just I carried that over to my firearms training. And when I started dry firing using, say, the belly breathing technique, I noticed that my chest was not raising and lowering. So in the prone position, back in the day, it's rule of thumb that we'd use like the respiratory pause, breathe in, breathe out, watch your belly go up and down. You're trying to control your breath as it comes down. You kind of hold your breath, then the round goes down range. With the belly breathing technique, you don't stop breathing, because stop breathing is not natural. You only hold your breath for 3 to 5 seconds, and then subconsciously your mind's telling you, hey, what's up? You need to start breathing, buddy, quick. And then you start to shake, you start to worry about, and okay, I gotta breathe.
And really quick,
it's happening
Sorry to cut you off. I'm going to give you an example for me. Like, I was in the military like 21 years ago back home in Sweden, and that's where most of my shooting comes from. So I'm having to relearn now with an older body, a much fatter body, and a completely different rifle. I shoot 22s exclusively right now. It was 5.56 back in the day, but I remember just snippets of what we were taught back then, and I remember the breathing in, out, and on the way out you kind of pause it and then shoot. Yeah. So now I'm trying to relive that and do that at the range, and I find really quickly, like, if it only takes a couple of seconds where I should have let that round go already, if I go over that, I can feel my lip starts twitching. That's like a big red flag for me. It's like, hey, you're too late. Just lower the rifle, start over. And it's incredible how quick that happens.
It does. In that example alone, what you just said there, that's a typical example. Like, anyone that's ever been behind a rifle at a range, even just zeroing your rifle, and you're just firing a couple rounds, you're focused on your reticle or your sights, and you're focused on your target, but subconsciously you're already thinking, your mind's telling you, okay, you're holding your breath, you want that shot to go. It's like, oh shit, I got to breathe or I got to shoot. So what is it going to be?
Exactly.
A lot of times you'll let her go, in which you're better off not to let it go, reset. But if you were to try belly breathing is nothing new. It's been, thousands of years old. It's used for calming our body down, allowing us to relax. If it wasn't a legitimate technique, we wouldn't be taught. Professionals aren't teaching it to you to learn to relax, like for yoga or even Hospitals use it. It's used all over the world. So, but why I use it is for belly breathing, because I shoot a lot of prone position or positional shooting, is that if I was in the prone position and if I was to do the respiratory pause where we're talking about breathing in, breathing out, and on the exhale, that's when I kind of pause 3 to 5 seconds and my round has to go out. At that point, my chest is raising and lowering. And my old instructors used to tell me there's no way that you can keep your sight steady on the target. And I call BS to that, because if you're able to dry fire and you got your reticle stationary on your target, and where if you take a mental snapshot of where that trigger is, when the trigger is pressed, the firing pin goes forward on an empty chamber, the rifle will bounce slightly and your reticle will move. And wherever the reticle moves is where the bullet will impact with a properly zeroed rifle. But when you have a belly breathing technique, you don't stop breathing. It becomes very shallow, but it becomes very rhythmic and very, very mild. So you're able to breathe in, breathe out. As you're exhaling, you're still exhaling and you're still breathing, but it's so small that you can actually hold the reticle on the target. And as you press the trigger and you hear the click, the reticle doesn't move. If it does, it's ever so slightly down and then it's back up. It's none of this, what we got going on all the time, is the circle going on. So when I talked about in the beginning about if you're looking through your optic, when you start to learn to talk scope, if you're watching your reticle will tell you what you need to do to your body, whether you need to shift a leg, whether you need to move your hip slightly over, or just even pick your leg up and lay your leg back down on the ground to reset your hips. Any of that kind of stuff will tell you where positioning of your reticle is. So guys that practice a lot before they put a round down range will dry fire 2 to 3, maybe 5 times. And what they're trying to do is get that perfect body alignment, but they want that feedback. So they're listening to what the scope is telling them to do, and they're doing it, and then it's translated onto the target. Really, it doesn't matter if you shoot pistol, rifle, whatever you're going to shoot. I don't care if you're shooting a potato gun. It's like whatever you do at this end of the rifle will translate downrange. So you got to get it perfect here, and then it will happen for you downrange. And so many people get hung up on, I got to get this right, I got to get that right. No, you need to work on yourself. You need to work on you. And I always say to anybody, it's not just shooting and just in life in general, but you can never go wrong investing in yourself. And if you were to put all the gadgets away, grab your 22, grab your center fire, whatever you're going to be working with, and if you start dry firing and slow things down to a point where they're almost rhythmic or very, you have stages where you have like a little checklist. Once you start going through that mental checklist, you're going to start to see things are starting to come together. And that's really where it's at, is to see those changes happen. But you got to be able to one of those people that want that to happen, and you want to put that time in. If you're just a pray and spray kind of guy and girl, that's fine too. You're having a great time, good on you. But if you're someone that really wants to better your skill set, the old saying is get good, then get fat. Yeah. And that really is true. So to go back to your original story, question, the Argyle Cup is a fantastic.
Fuck, we were ever in the weeds on that one.
Yeah, we did.
That was good though. Yeah. That was good though. Like about 50,
bring it right back.
Couple of seconds into it, I'm like, I'm buying this guy's book. I'm fucking buying this guy's book. No, because that's right. Where my personal learning is right now with shooting or relearning, that's exactly where I'm at right now. It's trying, because what I'm doing right now, I started doing archery and shooting about the same time, about 2-3 years ago. And archery, I'm so relaxed and it's just kind of clicking. I'm a way better archer than I am a shot right now, I think. But the shooting, I find there's so much overthinking that I'm doing right now. And what I'm focusing right now is the breathing and just trying to get, I'm trying to time my breathing and trying to get that shot off. I'm trying to trace kind of where my rifle is. I shoot irons only to get that round off. But fucking belly breathing. Who knew?
Hey man, buddies of mine used to make fun of me back in the day, even going back even 10 years ago. They used to say, "What are you doing?" It's like, but once you start pounding paper and then you start pounding steel, and those guys are all over the place, and you go down and you look at your targets, and it's like, wow, it's like I'm not walking on water. I'm not turning wine or water into wine here or anything like that. I'm just looking at things in a different perspective that maybe people haven't done in a long, long time, and that's just I'm looking at it from what can I do for myself to make me a tool? Like I'm basically an instrument behind the firearm. I've got to do everything right within me. I got to control my breathing. I've got to control the reticle from pulsating. Like, and that's a question that I get all the time. It's very frequent is, hey man, I can't get this reticle to settle down. So when I'm in those positions and I'm training, if you start moving things away from traditional setups, such as we talk about the pocket, if you move the butt of the rifle slightly inward towards your sternum, and then you find a spot it's actually right here by your clavicle, by your collarbone, and you just set it in there, and with the head positioning with the pressure on the cheek, and then your proper grip, and then if you have a good bipod stance, even from the prone position, you can actually start to see that your reticle is settling. But you need to be able to control your emotions, and you need to be, most important, be able to control physiologically your body. And to do that, it's all about breathing. You think about all the different cultures in the world. What do they all focus on? Especially you think about Asian culture, thinking about flexibility, breathing is huge, relaxation, because they want to have control. And from a marksman's point of view, that's exactly what your goal is. Your goal is to do this. Very simple. Keep the reticle on the target throughout the process of squeezing the trigger. Once the projectile has left the barrel, it's out of your hands, it's going to hit the target. You just need to hold that reticle steady. That's the only job you got. You can squeeze or press the trigger like a big old gorilla monkey and just hammer on it. But long as that reticle doesn't move and you've got a properly sighted in firearm, you're going to hit the target. So you just need to do everything on this end. And whether it's the manual, whatever it is, that's what I'm always focused on, is how do I control myself? And going back to that Argyle Cup is just that. I've learned over the last 20 some years, and especially the last 10 years specifically, how to control my body, that I can, because whatever I feel in my body is put into the rifle, and I can see it through the optic. So there's days when I go dry firing where I'm tired, and it shows because my reticle is not as steady, or I feel like I'm really antsy. But those are the things that you have to work through to figure out what works. And everyone's an individual, right? Swallow, you talking to Dave, and you guys are laying down, and you're in prone position, you're shooting on a target, and he may have a totally different setup, but works for him, but not for you. But those are the things that you got to figure out on your own. And it's at that individual level. We have.
I shoot bare bones, a completely stock rifle, because I know I'm still the weak link. Like, I'm still not shooting that rifle. That rifle is still a better shot than I am. Because I recognize that, like, I have some major issues with some of my fundamentals, and breathing is the one I'm working on the most. That's really good that came up, because I'm definitely going to start.
And I talk about this a lot. I did a seminar a couple of years ago just strictly on breathing, and I was actually amazed the amount of people that I attended, because I kind of thought I was only going to be preaching to just a couple of people, but the place was pretty full, and I was like, wow, people are really tuned into this. They kind of understand this whole concept. And when we get talking about dry firing, to give you an idea, like, I think the success that I have with shooting in specific areas, because I don't do a lot of competitions, I just do selective competitions that I want to participate in that really kind of motivate me, like the Argyle Cup. And my normal regime is that even at 50 yards here at the house, like we live in a rural community, I have lots of area to shoot from, but I go out and I lift up my garage door, and I have a steel plate at 50 yards, and I have little tiny dots on it. When I mean little dots, I mean like the head of a pin. And even with my optic, I'm able to zoom in on it, and I'm dry firing, and I'm not trying to hold it. Some guys will have like 1 inch squares. That's for the birds. Like, I don't want to be able to hit 1 inch square at 50 yards. What I want to do is find an exact pinpoint precision spot on the target. That's where my focus goes. This is where my focus is brought into that area. So everything outside of that area is gone now. I'm just focusing on that one little dot. And the only thing I'm trying to do is keep the reticle steady on the dot. And as I press the trigger, I'm watching where the reticle falls. Now, keep in mind, this is on an empty chamber. I'm dry firing, but the reticle will still move after you press the trigger. Once your firing pin's gone forward and snaps, the reticle will bounce slightly. The idea is just to have it perfect. And on that same target, I've taken a fine point Sharpie and I've actually drawn a crosshair, and I want to have it so it falls perfect each and every time. You get into that mentality, I'm really starting to separate the fly crap from the pepper, right? And that's really what we're getting at. So whether you're a precision shooter or you're into pistol shooting, we all have the same goal, is our point of aim needs to match our point of impact each and every time. The only difference is in the precision side of things, we're really looking for precise movement here. We don't want anything outside of a certain area. And that's the whole goal. If it wasn't, we wouldn't put dials on scopes, right? You just kind of Hail Mary it. So
well, yeah, it's fascinating too, because it's like you talk so much about like the mental game and like the dry firing and like the breathing and all the different things that aren't the competition, you know, that build up to it. Like, do you have any routines in terms of like you mentioned yoga and breathing and meditation? Like what type of things do you do on like a daily basis or a regular basis to help improve your shooting?
Well, because I'm working all the time and whatnot, just like everyone else, life is really busy, right? You got kids, you got all sorts of stuff going on, podcasts. So time is limited. So the one thing I do is a minimum 3 times a week, no matter how busy it is, I'll go down and I'll dry fire. It could be only for 10 minutes, it could be 20 minutes. I'm a pistol shooter too, so I'll dry fire and then I turn around 180 degrees and then I'm looking out the back of my garage. And I've got a target set up. So I'll get in the prone position. I'll dry fire 3 rounds, get up, holster my pistol, turn around, engage my target several times, rack the slide, do some IAs, some immediate actions, practice that way, holster. And what it is I'm just constantly trying to let my body know the perfect sight picture. And when I'm pressing the trigger with the rifle, it's funny because I've done it so much, and this is the idea, right? Is to do it so much that it becomes instinctual, where my brain and my eye already knows, like once my eyes see that perfect alignment, my finger's already on it. Like I hardly ever use my safety because once my finger's on the trigger, my eye, my finger, everything's married together, and you really truly do become one unit. And that's the whole idea, is just to let it be natural. And when you get to that state, then you're going to start shooting little tiny bug-eyed groups.
And it sounds like it's almost like subconscious, where it's like you have that sight picture so dialed in that like your body knows like it's not you pulling the trigger, like you're just doing it instinctually when you know that you're going to hit that target, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is, and when we were talking about the Argyle, and I say this all the time to the guys, like, I don't shoot better than they do. It's these things that I'm doing on a constant basis. It's like, I don't know, you're say a carpenter, he's building a house. I don't know the first thing about building a house, but you know, you're taking a guy that's done it for X number of years. He knows all the ins and outs of putting up a house. I don't know crap about it. I'm going to fuggle my way through it, but you know, he's a professional at what he does, and he just knows the ins. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're just finding the ins and outs that makes everything work in harmony. And that's exactly what's happening here. You need to kind of figure out what's really important and what's not. Waiting to come onto the podcast, I had some free time this afternoon. We came in and I was doing a couple of emails for work, and I had a customer talk about, you know, he's comparing scopes, and he was wondering, will this scope get me out to 500 yards? I want to take my 22 out to 500. Will the parallax works? He's comparing it to another one. And not to be rude, but there's sometimes where you just you hear it every day. You just want to say, hey, look, brother, you've got more important things to worry about than if one scope has a little further parallax dial movement than the other one, because they all do the same thing. You need to worry about all these other things that you need to be worried about, the big picture, like what you're going to do as a shooter and your kit and your gear. But all the little tiny things, we need to get away from that. Start thinking the big picture, get that honed out. You know, your equipment, and again, the things we just talked about now, and then start worrying about the little microscopic things that make the little tiny difference. And the worst thing I can tell, or the best advice I can give anybody, is stay the hell off in YouTube. It's like, you know, man, it's like everyone calls you up and it's like, hey, I saw this on YouTube, and is this true? Is this that? It's like, get off YouTube. Like, if you have a question, that's great, but we have videos through Vortex USA and our own videos as well. You might as well get the information from the horse's mouth. And just quickly, guys, I don't want people to think that all of this is just me, because like I stated earlier, I'm a product of taking a lot of different firearms classes as well. And I've had some wonderful instructors, whether it's Mike Brake or it's Keith and Linda at Milcan or other different facilities that I've been to. So I'm a product of learning from them and their mistakes and things that they've learned, and they pass it on, and I'm passing it on to my students. The difference is when it comes to the optics side of things, it's kind of my wheelhouse, and I'm just trying to get that out and show the finer points to your audiences.
And it sounds like you spent a lot of time like developing like your own type of shit, and like you've taken information from all these sources, and then you've went out to the range and being like, this is what works for me, and like taking it to the next level of like almost like the creativity of developing your own method of shooting, and you're creating that language of scope that you talk about.
Yeah, exactly. The way I look at it, because you listen to it day in and day out, it's just, I hear people, they almost think that they can walk on water. Well, I look at things when I show up on the range, it's like, you can tell me whatever you want. I don't care what you tell me. You can be the world's great shot. But when we walk down range and I see the holes in the paper, like, bullet holes don't lie. It's like, either you can produce or you can't. And if you look at the holes in the paper, like, by physically looking at them, you can decide, okay, what do you need to work on? Because even again, you can read what's on the paper, and once you learn how to do just a simple task like learning something like that, you can start to learn where you need to improve. And we all can improve, and I'm always trying to improve. So those people out there listening to this, I'm far from perfect. I'm just trying my best to muscle through life and get the best I can out of myself as a shooter. Now, I'm with you, Swally, because my eyes suck. When I turned 40, it was just like overnight. I noticed when I was down dry firing, I used to be able to hold the reticle perfectly clear, crisp, and I used to see the target image, and I could hold on that thing for the longest time. There'd be no problems whatsoever. But now it's just, I'm up, I see the target, I see the reticle, I've got 3 to 5 seconds, and after that, I've got to look away and come back on it, or I got to cycle the bolt and take a blink because everything's going hazy. So joys of getting older, I guess, but it sucks. It really sucks.
There was a big break of me not shooting. Like, military when I was 20, I worked briefly for Corrections Canada when I was 30. I'm now 40, and then now I'm like this year I'm really trying to put some effort into shooting. And yeah, like I said, it's shooting with a whole new body. Plus, most of the shooting we did in the military base, what I was doing back then, a lot of it was a lot shorter range, because in Sweden, our military is very specialized to our geography. So what we did was very much in the bush. It was very much shorter distances. It was a ton of ammo. Like, we were eight mags with us, and we emptied them fucking quick. So it was less about the precision, more about a lot of other skill sets, about being mobile. The way I shoot now is I shoot almost exclusively standing. Back then, it was very little prone. It was either you're kneeling when you're moving forward, or if you're going really quick, you stay upright. So I figured my next thing from here might be hunting. So I don't want to get used to that table, for example. That's something else that Kelly brought up, actually. And it made me think. It made me think of what you said as well about the range through real life shooting. Like, Kelly made a comment when she was on a couple episodes ago about, like, you're not bringing that table with you into the bush. Like, you got to work on some other fundamentals.
Okay, that's really good point, because when we do anything on the range, like, we'll have guys that are saying, oh, I want to shoot from a bench, or I want to bring my lead sleds. Like, leave that crap at home. Yeah. The way I look at it too is, and again, going back to the OTOP program, is that there is no benches in the field. It's like if you were think about when you're in the service in the day, if you slipped and fell down the side of a ravine and dropped your rifle and you ran over the thing, you're going to pick it up. You're going to look for something that's approximately 100 meters away if you have that opportunity, and you're going to get into a stable position and to confirm your zero before you go to battle, if you're lucky enough to do that. So the way I look at it is just that. There's none of that crap in the field. It's all about you. And then it's getting back to just like what Kelly's pointing at is, like, you need to invest in yourself. You need to get these skills yourself. And in today's environment, in today's technology, it's like everything's a hand, everything is really close by. So whether you're on the range and then you got guys and girls doing this with the whole phone, trying to get wind, trying to get dope and elevations, how about we just learn what God gave us between the years? And if you use that, you're already 3 steps ahead of this,
I remember having to learn about, okay, if a branch moves, it's this windy. If a twig moves, it's not windy.
Yeah. Well, just like in shooting, man, the early days, it's still about flags, right? You're on the range, you're always looking for flags and looking for environmental signs. It's going to tell you, hey, what way the wind's blowing, the speed, if it's shifting halfway down range, all that kind of signs. But those are things, there's always things to learn. And when Dave was talking about that, and you hit on it earlier, is just that there's so many different facets to it. It's not just once you get to the point where you're shooting little small groups, but now you need to let that translate down range. So now I need to learn about mirage. How am I going to read mirage? Who can I get to help me to understand mirage? And there is some good people out there, like I said, Keith and Linda from Milcon. Linda's wonderful at that kind of thing. And they have such a good rapport with their students. If you get a chance, those that are in Ontario, they get them from all over the world. But if you're in Ontario and you get a chance to go up to Minden, to Milcon, go up there and take one of their basic rifle courses, it'll get you pointed in the right direction for sure. They do a wonderful job. But all those different facets, you need to learn about those. So, you can shoot you can be the best shooter in the world, but if you can't understand wind, not going to cut it. You need to understand.
I think a lot of focus, and I'm really getting that from this episode, is a lot of the focus for a lot of shooters is what's in front of the eyeball, the rifle, the scope, all that stuff. Where people need to focus what's behind the eyeball, i.e., the shooter.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Sometimes we kind of lose sight of what's important because we just have everything at our fingertips today. Mm-hmm. A lot of guys out there that I know would. If you keep throwing money at it, is it going to make you better? I can drive a race car just like you can, but can we drive it as good as a professional race car driver? There's not a hope in hell. So you need to be able to put the time in, train, invest in yourself. And I think the biggest thing that anyone would walk away from this podcast, if they take anything away that I don't know if I'm throwing anything out there that's even valuable or not, but the biggest thing I would say is invest in yourself. Put the time in, slow down, go to a small caliber rifle like a 22, because 22 rimfire, we help sponsor Rick with the Canadian Rimfire Precision Series. Like, that is an excellent tool, because if you can control that little 40 grain bullet whizzing around in the wind, even at 300 meters, that is an easy translation from that to a center fire. You're just going to apply everything you've learned. You're just going to have a bigger bang and a bigger hole in the paper on the steel. So there's a lot of opportunities, but you need to get your head in the right space and start small. And that gives you an opportunity, especially if university students are listening to you. It's all about dollar value as well. They got to watch the budget. So let's start small, work on that. Dry fire, it's free. You can dry fire, and dry firing is the best training technique because you get instant feedback by watching the reticle, or even watching your iron sights. But again, you got to put the time in. It doesn't if you're just thinking that you're going to dump a bunch of cash in it and you're going to be, you're going to be Joe Sniper, you're going to be sadly mistaken.
Yeah, we had Rick on, I think it was 2 episodes ago. We had one specifically on him and the Canadian Rimfire Precision Series.
And we're actually working with Outlaw Rimfire Precision. We're going to do a match, our first match in June here for the students out of U of C in Mount Royal, and then you just get that fundamentals, right, the 25 to 100 yard shooting, and give them that opportunity to go out and have some fun.
Right on. I'm really glad to hear that too. And with us, like, Rick is really great at what he does. And again, there's so many different facets out there as well for rimfire. Like you said, you got the Outlaw. There's so many different things cropping up all the time. And the beautiful thing about rimfire is, for the most part, a lot of the ranges in Canada can host different events, right? Like the Outlaw event, it's basically set up. So if you got 100 yards, you should be able to put something together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about scopes, a little bit about Vortex.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I don't know if you had a hand in it, but thank you for giving us the scope that we gave away to somebody a couple of weeks ago. Somebody won a Vortex Diamondback.
Yeah, in our rifle webinar there.
Yeah, thank you very much for that.
Nice.
You were waving around a tripod earlier. Do you want to talk a little bit about what kind of products Vortex has currently?
Yeah, we've got a few things this year, more to come. Can't really let the cat out of the bag right yet, but there, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, we've got a lot of great stuff coming down the pipe. If we want to touch base in a couple of months, I think there's some opportunities possibly for the students that are listening to this to get some training in with us. So we'll see. I'll keep you up to speed on that. Anyways, once the podcast is over, I'll throw you an email here and there just to keep you guys up to.
We'll do the after hours as well. Like once I finish recording this, we'll do a little chat. But if I forget to say, then at the end of us talking, email me all of these links that you want, like the people you just mentioned in Ontario where we can buy your book. Email me all that stuff, and I'll put it in the comment section on the YouTube page for this video.
Sweet. Thanks, guys. Thanks. Yeah. Well, again, try to support each other is the way to
Absolutely. Like if I can promote everybody.
Build the community, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Friends don't let friends vote Liberal. How's that for a bumper sticker? So with our carbon fiber tripod that I have here in my hand,
yeah,
how well I can actually show this. So one thing in our line that I felt that we were really lacking is a good tripod. Now, we've had tripods in the past in our lineup that worked really well, but we needed something that was specifically geared towards a good modern tripod that lends very well not only to our observation equipment, but if you wanted to shoot off a tripod. And that's something also that's very interesting to try to shoot off one of these. So we have 4 new tripods in our lineup this year. Just a word out, they are, because I'm thinking our university students, everyone's wondering, yeah, well, that's great. How much does it cost? They are a bit pricey because they are carbon fiber, but there's a lot of great advancements in it. It's not just a tripod. It's kind of like an IKEA product, right? It's like it does multiple things. So if you wanted to go to a prone position, so this is our smaller one that we have. This is our Summit, very rigid, but it's great if you wanted a light backpack and you needed something from the seated position, or you can get it up. I'm only about 5'10", so I'm not a real tall guy. So if I was to stand up, it only comes up to about here, and then I have my optic on top. So I can get away with standing if I needed to, but it's more of a light tripod. All of our tripods come with what I refer to as the kingpin or the center post. Mm-hmm. So I talked about shooting prone. Even for a hunter, like you take out the kingpin, the centerpiece, and all of our tripods go to prone. So if I was laying flat on the range, if I was laying down, I can actually have my rifle sitting up here because this is an Arca Swiss rail that's attached to it, built in, and I can actually be extremely low and prone and shoot off it. If I was a hunter, I can get low enough with all of these tripods that I won't silhouette my outline on a hillside. They're so versatile. So we have 3. We have the largest, the Radian. We have a Ridge View. This here is our Summit, which is the smallest one. And we have a middle in the road one that is actually aluminum, and it's actually something that the average person can actually afford. So it's budget conscientious. And the other things that we have out currently right now, I don't have one here in front of me right now. We have the prismatic. So we have a 3 and a 5 time prism optic, more suited towards the AR crowd, but we know the status of that right now with our fearless leaders. So that's kind of put a sting in that in regards to that firearm. But we can transition that optic on any other firearm as well. So prismatic optic. And the last thing that we have out this year, and I have a pair. I'm going to grab it, and really stoked about this. We have the Furies. So we have a binocular with a rangefinder. So we've had that for a few years now. So this is the Fury. And then we have the Fury ABs. So we came out with the Fury, which is just what you see here. It's just a range finding binocular, so you can actually look and you can laser your target, and then the target image will come up with a distance, whatever you want. We have cosine angles, so HCD, horizontal corrective distance. So if you're on slopes, it corrects for all that. Now, this year's first year for us, we've introduced, I'll see if I can show this here. We've introduced a binocular with the rangefinder, the Fury, with AB, applied ballistics. So those people that are out there that are listening, that are familiar with things like the Kestrel, Brian Litz for applied ballistics, we've actually incorporated that into the binocular, into the rangefinder. It also is Bluetooth. So it will Bluetooth up with your phone. You can download the app, so you can actually laser a target. You can look to your phone. You can get all the information, your data for elevations. It'll capture the wind. So where these come into play is if you have a guy or a girl that's really switched on, that's been doing this a while, and no matter what, a rangefinder is a key piece of kit. And they may not need all of the whiz bangs this does. They may just need the range, and that'd be sufficient because they already have their dope. But you're able to get this right up front and get it in your handheld phone. We just got one the other day, which is the Garmin 701 ballistic watch. So I'm just playing with that now to marry that up with this so I can wear it on my wrist. So when I lay down the prone position, I'm going to use it for the Argyle this year. So when I'm laying down, and if my teammate lasers a target and he says the target's at, say, 720, I just look at my watch, scroll down 720, he doesn't have to say anything. I don't even have to know what the range is. It just comes up automatically on the watch, and I just dial it and shoot it. So we're really, really getting in. We're just touching down right now and putting our toe in the water on the electronic stuff. But these guys have Vortex. They're all shooters. They're switched on. They know what works, what doesn't. We're a no-nonsense kind of company, so doesn't do you any good if we're going to put something out there and it doesn't help you to get where you need to go. So they're fantastic.
I'm thinking we need to do another like long-range shooting episode, and I want to put you fucking on the same episode as Sean and Rooster from the first Focal Plane. Because I think that could be an episode where I just kind of introduce everybody, and then I walk away and make a sandwich, and you guys just talk for like an hour.
Yeah, I listened to that podcast when you sent me the link and stuff.
Yeah,
sound like just a bunch of good old boys that.
They're good. The old Sasky boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday,
I lost track on how many F words were dropped.
Yeah, that's one of my probably top 2 episodes, and I gotta say this one here has been, I fucking love the sound of my own voice, but this episode here has been the least I've ever spoken because there's been a wealth of knowledge coming out of you. It's been really, really good.
I wouldn't say that. It could be. It's probably bullshit anyways, but I'm going to put it out there.
Yeah, the 1% that isn't is fucking super valuable, right? So.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, we keep talking about learning, and I'm the first to say, like, I don't know everything, but I do.
That's the key to it, though, and like knowing that you don't know everything. And I think like a thought popped into my head when you're talking about taking the old boy hunters to the range and they don't want to. These are people who are already like, oh, I already know how to shoot.
Yeah.
Right. No,
those are the same. Yeah, those are the same guys that call me up and say, "Hey, you don't know shit, Reg. I've been shooting for 30 years. I just bought the scope and it's not working." And then I get them to send it in, and the scope's crushed. So those are the same guys. Look, we got to be. Again, I don't even want to spend energy on it. It's like I don't know everything. I'm a student of the game too. I'm learning. There's shit that I don't know that maybe Dave knows that I would pick up on the range and I would go with it. We feed off each other. We talk to each other. We learn from each other. That's life, right? If you stop learning, what's the sense of going on? So what gets me, what really gets me each and every time and why I stay in this game is every time I go out to do a competition, or even if I go out to do some training on my own, my wheels are going. I'm thinking about how can I do this better, or am I missing something? What am I not doing correctly here? So if you're that type of person, if you're an A-type personality and you're driven through precision, like really want to know what makes things tick, get yourself into the long range. It doesn't even have to be long range. Just precision shooting. and with a 22 and just start there. And everything that we've talked about on this podcast, this isn't rocket science. It's just bringing it together and looking at things from a real practical standpoint. And get away. When I say get away with YouTube, what I mean is, I don't mean not watch YouTube or anything, because there is some good resources on YouTube, but you have to be selective, because there's a lot of garbage on there that it doesn't do anyone any good. It just pick your.
Or like you were saying as well, everybody shoots differently, right? Everybody has different issues they need to work on. So so somebody's Messiah might not be somebody else's. Like, we only need to work on different things. And if you think, oh, I need to work on this because I'm not hitting the target, well, maybe it is your breathing, maybe it's not your equipment, maybe it's something as stupid as, like I said, breathing, like we were talking about belly breathing. So it might be a good video, but it might not be the one for you.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say, like I'm a big believer in terms of all the schooling I've done, or just any of the skills I've learned, of like just having that open mind, right? And taking, hey, okay, so I'll go try this today, and if it works, then great. If it's something that I don't think is working and not for me, then I'll move on to the next technique or the next practice I'm going to do, right? And you build that repertoire of skills over time, and you figure out what's the good personal fit for my shooting, right? So
yeah, and that's a really good point. And when you're doing, like, I find that when you look at things as a student, because we're all students, no matter how good you are or how good you think you are, you're still a student. You're always got lots to learn. So when we're on this journey of trying to learn to get better behind the rifle or whatever you're shooting, and we talk about all the different applications that you can apply, the biggest thing I think that will set you farther ahead is to lose the attitude, because that's one thing that when as a student, if I come onto a course and my instructor is just, we've been there, right? If he thinks he can walk on water and he's just the cat's ass, and then he's not putting it down the way I want it, so he's just all about himself and I can do this, I can do that, you kind of lose sight of really what the important part here is. I'm here to learn from you. I don't need you to tell me how good you are. Within a very short period of time, I'm going to know how good you are. And that usually within a few minutes, you can kind of read the instructor to see if they really know what they're talking about. And so those people that are wanting to get involved with any type of shooting sports, get into try to reach out there and try to find yourself a really good instructor, someone that you can bond with, that's got the same kind of mentality as you, that, you need to be able to jive with that instructor. But most importantly, make sure you find one that really truly knows what they're doing. And they just didn't get their PAL license like last month, and now they're out there teaching a group of students. So what the biggest thing I like is dealing with people that don't have the attitude, because they're just so open to what you have to say. And if I'm full of crap, they're going to figure that out. So there's no use in me snowballing you and saying something that isn't true, that's not going to help you. If I don't know what I'm talking about in a certain specific area, I'm just going to tell you and say, look, that's not my expertise, my area of expertise, but I know someone that can help you, and I recommend you just go see this person. And I think having good instructors when you first start out can save you a lot of money, and it can save you a lot of headaches and a lot of time.
Cool. All right, let's start wrapping it up. Do you want to do a little bit of promo, Vortex, and where we can buy your book? That's the website right there, right? vortexcanada.net.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, that's pretty slick. Thanks.
You're fucking welcome.
www.vortexcanada.net. Yeah, we've got, again, when you go to our website, we've got lots of tools there that you can draw from, everything from where to buy. We have just shy of 400 dealers across Canada. For anyone inquiring, because we get this question every day, we don't sell direct to our customers. We support the dealer level, so we want to help the mom and pop shops and the larger stores like Bass Pro and Cabela's. They sell our products, so you can visit our website, find a store that's local to you, and you can purchase from there. If you have any questions, even if you don't own a Vortex product as of yet, but you just have a question, you can reach me. You can call our office line, and my extension is 817. And I'll even throw out my company cell number here that I can be reached, because I get guys and girls that'll FaceTime me on the range and we kind of problem solve. So you can call me at 613-572-1102 if you have any questions that's you feel that's immediate, or if you need something that you just want to talk and have a chit chat, I'm open to that. But yeah, we're here for you. And when you call
really nice.
Vortex, yeah, and when you call Vortex, one of the guys that was supposed to be on tonight that didn't make it, Daryl Wilson is our first contact. So if you call the office on a warranty issue, or you have something that you're asking questions about, that's the voice that you would hear, would be Daryl. And hopefully in the future, if we do this again, maybe Daryl can be a part of it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
Let's do a redo here. I think I need to digest a lot of this stuff, because there will be follow-up questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right,
And I mean,
right on.
hey, if you're in the Ottawa area there, Reg, Jay.
Yeah, we're not too far away. I'm right at home right now, and I'm between Belleville and Kingston. So if you know where the Napanee area is, I'm just a few minutes north, so not too far away. I'm a couple hours from you if you're in Ottawa, dude.
No, I'm actually in Calgary now. I used to go to school, and we got a couple student clubs out there. So maybe there's some potential we could arrange range day or something like that in the future, all COVID dependent and whatnot. But
yeah,
cool. All right.
Yeah, that'd be fun. It'd be great just to come out and see what you guys are doing on the range with your students. It would be a lot of fun just to stand back and see how all that kind of unfolds.
yeah, absolutely. September, fingers crossed, all the COVID bullshit goes away.
Dave, do you want to do sponsors again, and then we'll wrap it up?
Yeah, so big thanks again, Cabela's, right, our national premier sponsor. They've sponsored us for 2 years in a row, and yeah, the outdoors program, whenever you're at Cabela's, make sure to round up. You're supporting nonprofits like ourselves and many other fabulous youth and other educational groups out there. Beretta, another valued sponsor, thankful for them coming on board and supporting our students. Vortex, I mean, talked about them all episode. Great company, veteran owned, and yeah, it was great to talk to you, Reg, and have you promoting some interesting Vortex products. And yeah, lastly, Stittsville Shooting Ranges, supporting our club, supporting us nationally. So yeah, big thanks to them as well.
Awesome. All right. So stand by for the exit video. Reg, I'm going to hang up this chat. I'm going to email you another link. So just sit by your emails, and I'll see you in a minute. And
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, for absolutely fucking thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
This has been really, really educational, and would love to have you back. Okay, so stand by for the video, and
Sure.
And I'll see you again in a minute.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you again for tuning in. We meet again on the next podcast.